It takes somebody special to work in social housing, and Clwyd has a vision that everybody should have a great place to live. And I believe that all our staff across Clwyd play a role in delivering that vision. I have a saying, which is, be brave with kindness, with wisdom. I believe if we do that, then we can meet our vision. In property services, we see our work as more than simply bricks and mortar. There are many examples of property services staff ripping up the job description, going above and beyond, and I could be here all day talking about those, but we've just picked a few. I was out with Brendan Lally in Galway at one of our new schemes, Court Roisin, and I was walking around the scheme with Brendan, and one of the painters came up and said to Brendan, "Here, look, I've got a couple of those samples you wanted." And we followed the painter through, and there, lo and behold, on the timber work were two different shades of a colour. And Brendan looked at both and said neither were right, and the painter said, "That's grand, I'll go away and work on another colour." Afterwards I said to Brendan, what was that about? And he said, well, my idea here is to paint each floor a different colour. He says, but not only just paint each floor a different colour, he says, I want a consistent colour for the timber work to tie the floors together. And that struck me. I'd not come across that. Somebody doing the bare minimum would simply have gone in magnolia walls or white and timber work. So Brendan was really applying a little bit of added thinking to try and make that scheme work and have a little bit more individuality about it. And to me that just shows the nature of his thinking and typifies the work of our technical staff in property services. Mark Fleming works in the southeast, and the housing officer was telling me that Mark had been working on a mortgage to rent property in Waterford, and the occupiers there, it was a woman on her own with two young children, and one of the children had cerebral palsy and was struggling to bath the child as the child was getting older. Well, if Mark was just doing the bare minimum, he would have gone into that property and simply done the repairs and looked at the tenant and said, no, adaptations, nothing to do with me. But what Mark actually did, he realised he had the budget, and he worked his budget to ensure that he could actually replace the bath with a shower. And I think that's made a massive difference to that family. And again, it just shows somebody thinking outside of the normal remit and the restrictions, and has made a massive impact on that family. Donald Daly, based down in the southwest, he was involved in some ongoing consultation with tenants in Taveling in Kenmare in quite a challenging environment with elected members present at all the meetings. There were a number of issues that the tenants had identified that needed addressing, and there were certainly plans to do some of the works down there. Donald used it as an opportunity to work very closely with the tenants, and he gained the confidence and trust of both the tenants and the elected members. And he introduced a number of works to the scheme and also used it as an opportunity. There were issues with the parking spaces there, and he was able to use the painters to redesignate parking spaces and create disabled bays, which was a real problem for a small number of tenants there. We had issues with the heating in the scheme. It was old night storage heating, very, very expensive to run. A number of the tenants weren't using it, and there were concerns about affordability and about their health if they weren't using the heating system. So Donald worked with them, identified a good solution, and replaced them with a more economic electric heating form. And the feedback from the tenants has been incredibly positive. And again, I think Donald handled the situation brilliantly, gained the trust and confidence across the tenant in Kenmare. These are just a few examples, and I know I can find many more examples across the whole of property services because it's second nature to them. It's not just a property services thing. This is happening across the whole of Clwyd, from all the internal departments to the frontline services. And I know that every member of every department across Clwyd is working towards our vision of everyone having a great place to live. It's simply the Clwyd way.